Greetings and welcome to week 6, unit 2. In the previous unit, we understood what rubrics are, and in this unit, we will try to understand how to design rubrics for short presentations. Now, one of the performance items are presentations, but these presentations can be different. Short one is 5 to 7 minutes. Generally, use it for literature review. That means you address PO2, program outcome 2, or problem identification, PO2, problem formulation, PO2, suggested approaches to problem solving, that is also addresses PO2, proposed project plan. It can be anything or combined all these things into one short presentation. Then you have second variety, group presentation, 7 to 10 minutes. A group of 3 to 4 students will present. They organize themselves one after the other to present whatever they are required to. Then you have long presentations which may last over 30 to 45 minutes. We will focus on short presentations now. Why presentations? Why are they needed? One of the program outcomes, PO9, is related to communication. It states very clearly, communicate effectively and inclusively within the engineering community and society at large, such as being able to comprehend and write effective reports and design documentation, make effective presentations, considering cultural, language, and learning references. Okay, so when you are doing a short presentation, you are only addressing a subset of that PO9. PO9 can be attained through multiple presentations by students. Generally, only one presentation during the 8 semesters will not be adequate. We recommend at least one in every semester. Through which course you would like to do that is left to the choice of the department. Presentations can be on commercially available products, one competency, mini projects, or the 7th, 8th semester project. We prefer the presentation to be evaluated by more than one faculty. That way, any kind of bias that exists can be removed. Let us say 2 to 3 faculty members. And these presentations are best evaluated by rubrics. So what are the key aspects of a 5-minute technical presentation? Let us see. We can have very large number of what you call key aspects, but we will elaborate each one and then choose a subset of those things. For example, clarity and conciseness. As you have limited time, one should not present too much of background and try to, whatever you consider complex, you should not take more time for that. Just you focus on what, why, and how without getting bogged down in excessive detail. One of the common mistakes done by many people, you get bogged down into excessive detail. Do not do that. And another thing, whenever you make a short presentation, you should focus on what you want your audience to remember after the presentation or take it away with them. So if you ask any member of the audience, what is it that you understood or considered most important in the presentation, they should be able to say that. So you should structure your entire presentation around that, what you want your audience to remember. and also try to avoid the jargon. And if they're absolutely necessary, then you explain the jargon. Don't leave it by acronyms and all that. Okay, that is clarity and conciseness. Then audience awareness. Oh, your message should be tailored, and think of what the potential questions that audience are likely to address, even if they are not, even if there is no Q&A session. So if you are able to focus on these are the questions that likely to arise in the minds of audience, then you can make sure that anticipating these questions, you can also answer them during your presentation. Then you have then the third aspect is structured and logical flow. Clear introduction, the somewhere your starting point should be where the audience can relate to. It depends on subject matter, at what stage the audience are, and depending on that, you have to uh, select a strong hook so that the starting point for this audience to understand will be clear to them. Like saying, today I will show how our team developed an efficient solution for problem X by using method Y, resulting in benefit Z. Okay, something like that. And then you should organize your content into easily digestible chunks. That is, instead of writing very complex sentences on the slides, you should move from digestible chunks, they're only small parts, and move from problem to solution, methodology, results, conclusion, and conclusion in a clear, sequential manner. Then you should summarize main points and reiterate your key takeaway. Okay? That is how it should be structured. Then effective visual aids. Here, you should stick to minimalist design. Don't use too much of distracting animations, busy backgrounds, excessive text, and so on, and visuals over your text. If you use high quality flowcharts, diagrams, graphs, images, it will convey the information much better. The visuals will tell the story, and you provide the narration. So whatever you want to speak need not be written on the slide. You can provide visuals and then you can narrate. And when you put any text, make sure that it is in large readable forms and ensure all text is easily legible from a distance. Because in a classroom, the last row person should be able to see the text. If he cannot see, then he will mentally disconnect himself from the presentation. And one idea per slide, roughly, for 5 minutes, 3 to 5 content slides, preceded and followed by what do you call a title and thank you type of slides. Not read from the slides. If you have a lot of text like what I'm doing right now, you are likely to start reading from the slides. Then professional language and tone. It should be formal language. Don't use any slang or casual expressions. You should use professional language appropriate for the engineering context. If you are making the short presentation to general audience, then you should use one type of language. If you are making a presentation to your colleagues, then you should use corresponding professional language. And whatever terms that you use them precisely and correctly. And you should also convey your passion for the subject and confidence in your work, which is made clear by the voice and the way you deliver. Another key aspect is engaging delivery. You should modulate your voice, complete your sentence, each sentence, vary your tone and volume to emphasize key points and maintain audience interest. And eye contact should not be with one person in the audience. It should go from one person to another one across the room. And then your body language should also be communicating the same thing. Namely, you are confident and you are professional. And you must practice to reduce the verbal. You must practice to reduce the verbal fillers. Instead of putting a verbal filler like ums and ahs and so on, you can pause actually. Then strict time management. This is one thing very important, that you should never exceed. If 5 minutes is the target or 7 minutes is the target, you have to complete your presentation a few seconds before that rather than later. Okay. And this requires obviously practice to ensure that you do it in a specified time. So practice using a stopwatch. These days, everyone has their cell phone. You can time your activity. Then another aspect is technical accuracy and reliability. Whatever you present should be accurate, well supported, and it should be based on reliable information, and no misinformation should actually, any kind of misinformation will undermine communication effectiveness. Okay, we have presented 8 key aspects, and out of these 8, right now, for sample, we will choose only 4 of them: clarity and conciseness, structured and logical flow, technical accuracy and reliability, strict time management. These are my choices, but as an instructor, you can, if you consider something else is more important, you can change the dimension. But it is preferable to have something like three to five dimensions, not more than that. And the weightage given to this can also be different. In my case here, I am giving first to 30% and the other to 20% each. Okay. And these percentage weightages also can be chosen by the instructor. Now, we are using 3 scales. We name them as accomplished, average, and beginning. Accomplished is between 10 and 8. Average is between 7 and 5. Beginning is 4 to 0. Now, I will not be reading all the criteria here, scoring criteria. I'll just read one or two to ensure that you understand that. For example, clarity and conciseness. If let us say a student, he presented main ideas are generally understandable, whatever is presented by the student, though some parts may be vague, wordy, or awkwardly phrased. Occasional unexplained jargon or unclear statements. Some minor repetition or digression present. Most essential points are addressed, but explanations may be longer than necessary or not fully streamlined. Let us say this is what the student has done, and you consider after listening to him this is what you find, then the average mark is between 7 and 5. What you give between 7 and 5, 7, 6 or 5 is again a subjective judgment. Okay, so there is some subjectivity but over a smaller range, and these whatever mark that you identify, put it in the last column. That will be out of 10. Let's say you are given 6 out of 10 there. So in the same way, each one I have written here the scoring criteria for all the 3 scale levels. Here, this is the second one. This is the third dimension. This is the fourth dimension. So what happens is, we have now 4 dimensions, varying percentages. The marks are entered in the last column. Then the total is computed as a weighted one, like 0.3 ds1. That is what is the score for the first dimension. So 0.3 ds1 plus 0.3 ds2 plus 0.2 ds3 plus 0.2 ds4. Then you compute this and put it in the last column. And these all can be done if you have if you put the sheet, this evaluation sheet as a kind of XML file, then it can automatically compute that, and the average of 2 or 3 instructors can also be computed. Okay. Now, how do we make use of this rubric? As we already said, it should be evaluated by 2 or 3 faculty members or experts in the related subject. It is convenient to have the rubric in electronic form, which I have just mentioned. The evaluator can enter scores in the last column. The total can be computed using weightages given in the dimensions. The mark given in scoring range is based on subjective judgment, which I have already mentioned. Between 4 and 0, do you want to give 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 is subjective judgment. And the total is the weighted average. And the marks the student gets is the average marks given by the evaluators. And best thing is how does the evaluator give the feedback? Let us say you have chosen in the second range something and you highlight whatever you have chosen, and that will become the feedback to the student. And one can develop a small app to ensure that the average feedback goes to the student after the presentation. Now this rubric can be particularized to a context. Now you can, as I mentioned earlier, you can choose the number of dimensions, or you can add more dimensions, and it doesn't have to be exactly 4. It can be 3, 4, 5. If you use more number of dimensions, then what happens? The marking will become more difficult, and writing your scoring criteria will become complex. If the number is too small, then the purpose of rubrics can be lost, because then now what happens if we have only 2 ranges, let us say 10 to 6 and 5 to 0, then the purpose of rubric itself can be lost. And even the percentage weightages can be changed. It doesn't have to be 30, 30, 20, 20 as we are given. It can be different. And scoring ranges also can be slightly modified, 3 to 4 or 5. But don't reduce below 3. Scoring criteria also can be modified depending on the context. So it is a compromise between what you consider granularity and grossness. Okay, grossness means I listen to that and I have a subjective judgment. I'll give say 6 out of 10. That is grossness. That is without getting into any detail. But I can't afford to have too many dimensions and too many ranges either. For example, you can also create another rubric for short or long presentations with dimensions slightly different. Clear problem statement and objectives 20%, summary of key prior work 20%, clear presentation of results 20%, structure and organization 20, use credible up-to-date sources 20%. And you can use 4 ranges like this: excellent, good, average, and poor. So then, as you can see, the rubric will look completely different. Okay, I will not read all this, but I only am showing for you to look at. It can be different. It doesn't have to be exactly what only one person thinks. Okay, so there are 5 dimensions. So 1/5 of and they all carry the same weightage. So it is 1/5 of the marks given in the last column. Sum of marks in the last column. Okay, I hope this makes it clear how we can particularize the rubric to a type of. For example, you may have a presentation in, let us say, course on fluid mechanics, or you may have a presentation, let us say, in analog circuits. Obviously, the contexts are so very different. Your criteria also will have to be correspondingly be changed. The next unit will try to understand how to plan rubrics for technical papers and project reports. And thank you.